Hello, Aries. How are you? Today is October 29th. I'm here to do your reading for the week. Obviously, the only news is the fact that Mars is now stationed to go retrograde, which he does tomorrow. This retrograde lasts until January 12th, 2023. Obviously, retrogrades are bad for forward movement. They encourage anything that starts with the word re. So reconsideration, revising, reviewing. And that can be frustrating for Mars because he likes to move forward. And so you may find yourself at moments during this period having sort of like a pressure cooker energy. And where it may express itself is verbally because Mars is in Gemini. So you're going to want to be aware of when you're in an angry mood or when you're about to pop off and, maybe just try and have a strategy for how you deal with that. So the point of these retrogrades is to protect you from making errors in like life or to help you make course corrections before they get too far. And this one, because it's Gemini, has to do with your communications, with your early childhood, with brothers and sisters, with your immediate neighborhood, your like short distance community. That there may be some changes that need to happen there, some plan that perhaps you put into action which needs to be reconsidered. So you may find that you're actually going to be changing your mind, possibly even twice, because you might change your mind when it goes back and then again when it goes forward, because Mars in Gemini also has to do everything twice. So be open to the information that comes to you between now and January 12th, and be open to changing your mind. This is not a great time to be completely fixed in your ideas. As something, especially since we have another eclipse coming up, something will need revision between now and January 12th. Now, that said, let's go ahead and get to the energy for the week. Can I get the energy for Aries, week of October 29th, 2022? Overall energy for Aries, week of October. Okay, got it before it flew off. Okay, community. So yeah, this is very Gemini word. And it can be about finding your community, who your community is, which community you believe you belong to, how you show up in that community. Let's just read this real quick. So it says, support is all around you, even if you're not consciously aware of it. Allow yourself to be supported. Give encouragement to others. The more you allow yourself to be supported, the more your dreams can come true. If you believe that you have to do it all alone, you will. Your true family is not just blood relationships. Sometimes the strongest family ties are friends who know who you are. Sometimes they are your ancestors and soul family who reside in spirit. This card speaks of finding your community and your people. It is a card of remembering that your people are at your side, believing in you, loving you, and standing strong beside you. Call on your community and ask for their assistance. They're only a thought away. Now, there's one thing I actually want to say about this, because right before I did this reading, I had a dream about a friend I had asked for help who never delivered. So that's obviously why. Sometimes, like when you're doing something, when you're trying to build something, when you're trying to achieve something, the people who you think who owe you help, or because they're long-term friends, or because you helped them, or because they're family or whatever, are actually the people who will help you the least. My experience, especially in like trying to set up a business, was that joining groups of people going through the same process that I was where I got the best assistance, the best advice, and people who barely knew me who were like willing to go above and beyond. Whereas like people that, I had been helping for decades literally disappeared. So be open to finding your community, not necessarily where you think it is. And if you're going through something specific, right? Like you have a personal challenge or a relationship challenge or a professional challenge, try and find groups on Facebook or wherever, YouTube, that are dealing with the same challenges as you are, because you'll find that those people are far more willing and able to help. Now, the challenge energy is the 10 of Pentacles. We are the world, right? So this suggests that you may actually have a hard time finding your community, or you may be expecting it to be bigger and more universal than it is, and it's actually much closer to home. You may be having challenges feeling like you're a part of something, or that there's people who can support you. And like I said, what this reminds of is that it's not, sometimes people will surprise you for better, for worse. And you may find more help and more community in strangers dealing with the same situation than you would from what you would consider to be your soul family. So this may be an opportunity for you to expand who is actually in your tribe, you know, and it may be that in looking for a close-knit community on the ground, you end up finding them kind of like all over the place. We used in advertising, we would use a word psychographics instead of demographics, right? Demographics were like male, female, 18 to 30, makes this much, et cetera, et cetera. And we would categorize people into that. And then we started planning around psychographics, which was location agnostic, gender agnostic. It was all about beliefs, finding people, creating targets and clusters out of people who all thought the same way. And that's kind of like what's going on here. So like, don't necessarily look for your tribe in your demographics, but in your psychographics. Can I get the lesson, please? Okay, peace. Interesting. And that peace is a 5, which, as we know, 5 is a turning point, can also be a number of conflict, creating conflict in order to find resolution. Because before the 5 becomes the 10, it kind of needs to like dust things up to make sure that everything is in the right place. Sorry, I was actually like looking for 5 and I meant to look for 23. Here we go. So the meaning is, it doesn't get better than this: a quiet mind, a heart fulfilled, freedom from want, and the soul's satisfaction. The way to peace is through radical acceptance. Everything in your world is exactly as it should be. Harmony is beautiful. Enjoy it. And it's funny because all these like images, like with the rainbows and everybody holding hands, that's getting really graphically weird. That this is kind of like images of utopia, right? And how do we find a place where we can be peaceful with others, together with nature? So it's interesting because there's some weird placements on this Mars retrograde, which can actually be a little bit violent. And if we think that this is the lesson, right, about bringing peace, finding peace, that sometimes the way to do that is through conflict. And there's that 5 of Wands. So you may find conflict. You may create conflict. Conflict may find you. The idea is to work towards, for your own good and for that of your own community, right? To work towards being able to find a space where you're happy, where you're peaceful. I don't know if anyone remembers the band Blind Melon, where the bumblebee was like running around feeling very lonely, and then she found a whole group of people dressed up as bumblebees and they were dancing around on a field, right? that in being able to find your people, you can create a sense of happiness and peace, which can then, you are peaceful, they are peaceful together, emanates and creates a resonance throughout the universe, right? That's kind of how we can lift the energy that's going on right now, is to choose to not participate in it by choosing to participate in things that make us happy and peaceful. Right. And I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I was recording a podcast episode, and we were talking about the fact that there's so much to be triggered about right now. But the problem is, if you keep responding to every single trigger from the smallest to the largest, things lose perspective, right? So, if you see something on the internet that you don't agree with, that's like nonsense. Somebody, I read this book, I didn't like it, and start going aggressive. Like, those are things that don't help you or help anyone. Also, because they cause you to lose perspective on what really matters. So to not engage in this kind of activity and actively seek where you're peaceful, what makes you peaceful. Now, again, if this is the overall message of the lesson, sometimes the lesson, as we saw, comes through the opposite. So you may find that you're actually more engaged in conflict to the point where you decide to step out of it. Can I get 3 cards, please, for the week of the 29th? Okay, so the King of Wands. 2 more. Ooh. Wheel of Fortune. One more card, please. Okay, 2. And then we have the 4 of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, so King of Wands to me is like us, right? The fire sign here. Taking a route of absolute maturity, being able to look at things, because this guy, he's a king, right? Not like the Knight of Wands, not rushing in to go fighting. He's now able to hold on to the power that is the fire, but still sit calmly. Now things, Wheel of Fortune, so things turning around, what goes up must come down, but coming to a place of like homecoming. These are like nice situations. And then the Page of Pentacles. So maybe being able to start something new. And the energy that I'm getting here is really, like I said here, like find what makes you happy, find what you can celebrate. There may be actually like a little shift here. I want to clarify both of these. Can I get the King of Wands and the Page of Pentacles? You may find that you change communities, right? Because this guy's looking that way and that guy's looking that way. So like looking towards the past, like having culminated in one sector, things moving around, starting kind of a new adventure, or marrying something new, celebrating something new, these 4 corners that you've put down, and starting with a whole kind of new outlook on life. So a shift, there may be a shift in the community that you belong to, or who you want to partner up with, who you're surrounding yourself with. Can you clarify this King of Wands, please? Yeah, so to me, it's like, find the people that make you happy and invest in them. Really like short and sweet. Find the people that make you happy and give them your energy. I might not even need any more clarifiers. So King of Wands, please. Yeah, I don't think it has anything else to say here. Okay, no. Yeah, Page of Swords. So this is like something coming to a culmination, right? And you observing what's going on in the past, because they're both looking this way, right? And which is towards the past. So being able to look in sort of an observatory way towards what happened and what needs to be shifted in order for you to be able to move into a space where you feel welcome, you know, that you feel loved and welcome and celebrated, and investing your time in that. So moving away from anything that created conflict, that gave you a sense of disharmony, people that weren't there to support you, you know, and instead of find the place, like seek out the place where you feel connected and supported, right? And the world feels like a safe space, instead of spending time in energies of conflict and like mean words said to each other. There's a better word for that, but it's not coming to me right now. Like where people are just horrible to each other, and actively seek out for your own peace and your own energy and your sense of belonging and your sense of self-esteem and you know, and security. Seek out the spaces where you feel welcome, where you feel like you belong, where you feel celebrated, where you feel supported. Right? And I feel like this Mars retrograde is going to give you a very clear clue as to where that is. All right, let me get one last piece of advice for Aries. Okay. All right, empowered oh my God, that's so funny. I actually had a dream about this crystal too while I was sleeping. So we have Ascended Master, Yogananda, and Rhodonite. This is 25-7, which is a spiritual number. Sorry, like the ambulances and the dogs started barking exactly right now. So we want to pay attention to this card. And the message is empowered service. Let's find this one. Okay, so we bring you the blessing of empowered service. It is your time to assume your place in the world at the table of the masters, right? Like this. Who serve the loving hand of the divine. You've been asking for your purpose to be more clearly unveiled and manifested in the world. You have endured lessons of patience. You have learned that spiritual progress can be made even without results being immediately obvious. You have learned trust and a willingness to surrender your personal desires into a larger plan. We know that of which you are capable, and we now invite you to step into that next level of empowered service available to your soul in service to the greater plan of divine love unfolding, right? So in order to step into this empowered service, like what the work you are meant to do, the first step is finding your community. How do you know your community? There are the places where you feel accepted, supported, and safe. Anything that does not make you feel like that, right? This is a time to move out of conflict and move into a state of peace. And you have to actively seek out the people who can provide that with you. And they may not be the people that you expect them to be. And that's okay. We have to let those people go and understand that they served a different purpose for us in our soul path. And now it's time to, like, don't get mad at people who can't support you. Just let them go, right? Just like literally just let them go. Leave them in the past and look for the people who can. Like, don't spend time in the move out of the conflict, move into peace by seeking out the people who provide you with this sense of peace. If they provide you, like if you're overthinking, if someone causes you to overthink, you can't understand their behavior, they don't provide help, they're not consistent, they don't call when they're going to say, any of that stuff, that's conflict energy that we want to move out of. And we want to move into a space of peace. Now, again, the universe may bring this to you by bringing an overdose of conflict until you're like, I've got to do something to change this. But your path forward is to be part of a community that makes you feel peaceful, secure, solid, like you have something to give, appreciates what you have to give, but gives you that sense of being connected to something higher, and it may be even higher on a spiritual level, but where you are able to, somewhere where you can go where you're in a safe space. Okay? Hope this was helpful. Wishing you a lovely week. Take care.